It's Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show. My co-host, Bill Morton, still cannot be here with us today because he is still recovering. But he is trying to move better now, but still in a lot of pain. This is Geoff Watts. And I am Trudy Leong, administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and Bill Morton is the president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Our very special guest today is Geoff Watts. He is a performance poet and of the Employment Opportunity Networks. He is employing people, helping people get jobs for how long now, Geoff?
11 years, but no, 18 years of helping people get jobs. But I wanted to make a correction. We've changed from Employment Opportunities Network to A Cut Above.
A cut above.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So how many people have you helped? Are you keeping track?
Thousands.
4,000 at least, I think I saw somewhere.
Yeah, something close to that, probably. And the thing is that I don't really keep track of that anymore. The main thing is to know that we have generated millions of dollars in the economy for the city of Chicago, and it's overlooked badly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually trying to keep track takes a lot of time, and then that time is much better spent in helping people get their jobs.
Absolutely. God will get the glory, not me. He'll get the glory. One planteth, one watereth, but it's God that gains the increase. Yeah.
Do you still remember the first job that you ever helped someone get?
It was off the CTA Red Line, believe it or not, as a poet.
Oh.
I was doing poetry on the trains, and it would be a lull at one point because in the morning, that's when I would sell my poetry in the subways and in the trains, and then there would be a break. And there was a young man who was with his mother, and he was looking for a job, and he was a felon. And I said I could probably help him get a job. And she said, "Oh, you can?" I said, "Yeah, if you can get him a bus pass." He needed, at that day, a one-day pass for $5. She got him a one-day pass, and lo and behold, I took him around all downtown, and I knew a lot of people downtown from me doing poetry, and he got employed. Mm. That word got out like wildfire. One person getting
Do you
a
still
job.
remember about where he got the job?
It was downtown, and it wasn't a well-known spot for janitorial.
Okay.
And it wasn't with Cardinal, but it was another place that was down there that hired him, and he worked for a long time. He worked out pretty good there, and they took him with a background. That was the main thing. He had a criminal background, and they still gave him a chance, and he turned out to be an excellent employee.
Well, they knew you, and how did they know you? You
from doing poetry on the trains. That's
right.
how they knew me. Doing poetry on the trains. Absolutely.
What was about your poetry that was so inspiring that people remembered you? Like even that the janitorial organization would remember you.
One of the good things about me reciting poetry was most of my stuff was spiritual. It was spiritually based. Sometimes I might deal with some Black history, but for the most part, it was rooted in spirituality. So it reached a lot of people. I can honestly say I'm one of the few poets in the city of Chicago who averaged about 800 and something pieces of poetry per month, dollar sheets, on the Red Line, selling poetry to survive.
So, what do you mean by selling? Were you performing it, or were you?
I was performing in the subways, and then we'd have a little box out, and people would donate. But as a poet, it's harder to make money at just reciting in the subway because the musicians are going to rule, and the singers are going to rule, and they're going to get the majority of the money. So I had to get on the trains at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So did you have to get a busking license as well?
Yeah, I had a license, but that license didn't cover the trains.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, really.
But you were still performing there. Nobody said anything.
Well, at one time, there was a great duo of Sandy and Joe. They were our nemesis on the train. And I'm telling a story about that in a book that I'm writing right now about. And Sandy and Joe have a chapter in it because there was another woman. She would arrest everybody. Oh my gosh, nobody got away from her. But and she was an older woman, and she had a real good way of being able to catch people who were going in between the cars and things of that nature. She was excellent. But those were the good old days. That was, during the time where it was a little bit safer. We had a bigger network. We knew what was going on. They knew us. We knew them. We played cat and mouse sometimes, but the bottom line was I did my poetry. I sold my poetry. I helped a lot of people with just the poetry itself. Then the word got around, and that's how I ended up going into job development. I ended up going from reciting poetry, and the word got out that I helped one felon, and then somebody else told their son, and people started sending their kids to me on the train during the lull, and then from there, the word got out to some of the professional organizations, and I ended up getting hired by Central State SARE. There was a guy named Lee DeFay. He took a chance on me, hired me. He didn't know I didn't have a car, and he hired me. And I ended up being one of their top developers in the whole system. And he about 6 months later, he said, "Yo, Geoff, come in my office." So I came in his office and said, "I heard you don't have a car." I said, "Yeah, I don't have no car." He said, I'm so glad that you didn't tell me that because I probably wouldn't have hired you. It's the best decision I ever made." Yeah, so I haven't driven since 1998. So I do everything on foot. And it has ostracized me a couple of times. People have passed me up not knowing the talent that I have to be able to, connect with employers. I've got employers to the point where I can call them at home, pick up the phone, "Hey, look," and we can talk about stuff. I have great relationships with employers. Mm-hmm.
There's very few people that could do as much as you. You're very special in this field.
That's because of the job page. And I attribute all of that to the members on our page. We have some of the greatest members. They're a plethora of information. They're always pouring information into me, so it looks like I'm this demigod on the page, but in actuality, they've given me all the information. They've helped me, and so that I have access to ways to help with wraparound, because people just don't need a job. A lot of times we run into people who need shoes, clothing, and they might not be able to get into a program, or a program doesn't see the significance of our page. That's one of the biggest problems we have right now. The Chicago workforce does not recognize us as an entity that should be respected. They actually should be under contract with us so that we can place people for work, but they're not. They haven't caught up with the times. So we get several. I'll give you an example. I got 36,000 followers on my page. I'm dealing with two big dogs, and those are Jobs in Chicago. They have over 210,000 people on their page. Christopher Watts, he got like 200,000 people
Any
on his
relation
page.
to you?
No, we're not related at all. But I give credit where credit is due always. So between all three of us, we're covering 500,000 people, basically. Mm-hmm. And for the Chicago not to recognize that and deal with us professionally is a travesty. Because we can help people, we can help their numbers with DC. It's a lot of things that we can do that have been overlooked.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by DC?
Why they have to report all of that to Washington, D.C. Now, who knows what's going on right now with Donald Trump, but he needs numbers. So, if anything, Donald might hear this and come talk to me direct and skip them. Because they need numbers, because, the outlook is not too good right now, Trudy. Mm-hmm. It's kind of scary. It's a tsunami coming, and people don't realize it's a tsunami coming because everything is drying up. We are the first line of defense, so we get to see everything on the ground floor. Can I share one interesting story with you?
Absolutely.
It's going to blow you away. To let you know that we see things before stuff happens, when COVID hit in the city of Chicago, I went to all my upper management to warn them about something that was taking place on the lower end of what we do. When I say lower end, I'm talking about ground floor. And nobody would hear me. and I was asking them to get me to the head person in workforce so that we could basically strategize to slow down the spread of COVID. And this is what was happening. You had a company, I'm not going to mention any names, but you have some staffing companies that drive people out to locations. So imagine this. COVID's going around. You got 12 to maybe 20 people in a van. One person has COVID. They're riding for 45 to 50 minutes. You infect the whole place, and people don't know that they got COVID. So now you got 15 to 20 people who are infected with COVID. They go into a factory of 100 people. 40 or 50 people end up getting infected with COVID. And that's how it spread so quick. And I was doing warning, danger. And at that time, Lori Lightfoot was in. She had Dr. Anwadi. They got so many gatekeepers. You can't talk to anybody. You can't get a person like me can't just go in. Like, it's just like right now with this emergency that we're about to face. I can't speak to the proper people that would be face to face with me. You know, it's too many gatekeepers that are in the way so that you can't get to them direct. Like Wednesdays, they have a time for you to be able to go down and talk to the mayor. You don't know how many times I've went down there. They have a lottery. And I'll miss the lottery. I'll get down there first. It'll be people who came second, third, and fourth, and they all get picked, and I don't get picked. So I can't address the alderman, the city council. I go through all kind of stuff with aldermen. Now, I'm not going to lie. I've been able to access my alderman, but I haven't been able to access him for this particular emergency right here. You know, and this is an emergency. And they're going if they don't handle this right, it's going to turn into something real bad because SNAP is about to get canceled. And people need jobs. I had on my page, and this is the first time this has ever happened, I posted a job for a staffing company, and I had 167,000 views for that particular job. Mm-hmm. That's never happened on my page. That means emergency. Mm-hmm. So that's how dire it is right now.
So, in other words, a lot of people need jobs now, and there's not enough jobs to go around. And
there's a bigger situation. You have a lot of people who have felonies, and seeing the neighborhoods that I'm akin to and working with, a lot of times they have felonies because they have gun charges. They have a UUW, unlawful use of a weapon, which most of them didn't even use. That's the travesty. They had it for their protection because it's so much stuff going on in the neighborhoods. And a lot of times they couldn't qualify to be able to have a gun because of something that happened prior in their past or whatever. But they weren't using it. And then what makes it worse is if the young guys that are on the block end up putting a mechanism on the gun to turn it into, they put switches on the gun. And if they put switches on the gun, now it's a different charge. So then when they run a background check on this person, who is an excellent candidate, who can work just like anybody else, they're ostracized, immediately turned down, and now we got a dilemma in the black community especially. Not just the black community now. You got brown who got the same thing, but a lot in the black community. And they're crying out right now because they can't find work. And they're going to eat. So... you know, this is an issue that the city must address, but I can't get in front of the proper people. We are the frontline defense. Anybody who deals with job development are frontline people. I have not met one mayor, not Mayor Daley, as a matter of fact, it was Rahm Emanuel at that time. Rahm Emanuel, Lori Lightfoot, or Brandon. I can't get in front of them. They have too many gatekeepers. You can't talk to them and tell them they've never met with us. I can't name one mayor who said, I need to meet with the job developers. I need to meet with the front line. There's not been one mayor who's ever said that, ever. And we're the front line. We see everything that's going on before anybody else. So...
okay, let's say they are watching right now and they're listening to you right now. What do you have to say to them?
Well, right now we're facing an emergency. There needs to be a contingency plan. You all need to switch up the way that you're doing business, especially when it comes down to social media. And with the advent of AI, things have changed. So there's a different way to go about, being able to gain. You got allies online that have helped several people. And a lot of these companies get basically free advertising, for some of their jobs and the things that they do. But as far as them merging with us, I think that it should be a time now that they should consider, putting that on the table, putting it in the budget, and us being a advent without all the particulars, because we're doing just fine without all of the particulars that they make. They make a lot of people jump through hoops technically to be able to for reporting factors and things of that nature. We can still hand that off to the workforce centers that they have, but we can be a middle person that really could be a good conduit for all workforce in the city of Chicago. And we can prognosticate, because we can let them know this is coming, this is going on the street, these are the problems. So our mayor, who always says he wants to do stuff for on a social level, being a social advocate, he could go before the companies like he wanted to tax the companies. No, tax the companies that are doing this, ostracizing the people, and won't take somebody with a UUW. Tax them. The people who turn it, people who are doing these background checks that are from out of the state, and they send these reports to the state. Find a way to penalize that. You bring it back into the locale. Let the local people handle that as far as hiring. A lot of times these human resource managers want to hire a person. They think that they had great customer service skills. Then they're relegated to send it out, and then they get a rejection, and then they've blown a good candidate for nothing. For nothing. And these people want to work. Why would they, they want to work, and they can't.
So you mentioned earlier about the UUWs. How could they actually distinguish between the dangerous UUWs and the UUWs that are holding good people back?
Well, normally you're going to see a track record of other things that are taking place within that person's history. And if you're seeing a lot of assaults, or you're seeing some bodily harm charges that are going along with that, then yeah, you're gonna pump the brakes, because that person could be on a line and lose their temper or whatever, and you'd have some issues. Or if you got somebody who's got a litany of retail theft, and you got them working on a line with valuable product, of course that's a bad choice. But at the same time, you got some people who I'll give you a perfect example. I had a guy named John. He doesn't mind me mentioning him either. I had a guy named John. I was over at 10 South Kedzie. This guy had 7 felonies, 7. And I was working with a guy named Tom from Services Us. And he was excellent about picking people who had backgrounds, who had changed their lives. And it's a look that he knew that they weren't going to go back. He selected this guy. I had to pull him out in the hallway. I said, man, this dude got 7 felonies. He said, that's the one I want. Do you know, this guy was so good that the company said, if you don't send John, I'm not going. You're not going to get my business. We're not going to do any business with you. And one day he took me to lunch. He reached in his pocket. He had a knot this thick full of money from tips. Mm-hmm. And John invited me to his church and everything. It was a wonderful testimony to give, that even people with checkered pasts like that, if the scenario is right, they still deserve a chance to be able to work. And it's a travesty right now. If you went to my page and seen 167,000 people looking for work, 167,000. That's scary to me. And out of that, I'd say about maybe 10% of those or 15% of those have backgrounds or more. And then the companies, they're doing the injustice because they're giving them scraps. They're giving them minimum wage. I'm not saying it's not part of seasonality, because in this season, a lot of minimum wage jobs exist because it's seasonal. But the bottom line is, people can't live off of $16, $17 an hour, not for a long time. They have to be able to, subsist and take care of their families and do some extra stuff as well. You don't want a person to just work and just pay rent. You don't want them to do that. But that's what I encounter a lot. So we have to get very wise about it. And we don't have, it's 5 minutes. We don't have the connectivity with the workforce centers at this point so that we can work on their careers. I have to do all that by myself. I sleep 4 hours a day. That's it. I take calls all the time. And on our job page, we help people all the time. So, if somebody wanted to help out, in that way, that would be great. You come in my inbox and say, hey, Geoff, how can I help? Because we do stuff all the time. We're getting people clothing, shoes, all kind of stuff.
And John was, you were the connector for his job.
I sure did, yeah.
And also, you said that there's something, an emergency coming on. Is it the people that don't have jobs and then they have to they have to find something to eat, and then there is going to be a crime wave because they can't survive? What
it could possibly be. I saw on TikTok that a few people had went into some Walmarts and raided the Walmarts. But this is a perfect setup for ICE, so we don't want to do that. And Chicago has more cameras than any place on the planet.
Okay. Well, Geoff Watts, if our viewers want to learn more about you and how you could help them or help someone they know, where should they go? A
Cut Above on Facebook or Meta. Go to A Cut Above, and then look for Geoff Watts, Watts. Put that in there, and you'll see a purple marquee, and it'll say A Cut Above. Join that, or reach me in my inbox, and we can talk. Okay. And definitely for the corporations, because we want to see people go to work.
Okay. Thank you so much, Geoff Watts. From Bill Morton, President of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce, and me, Trudy Leong, Administrator of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for watching Community Unity Now, the D Tycoon Show, and we will see you again.